Hello again. William Schnell, in chapter 15 of 30 Years a Watchtower Slave, is talking about a 7-step program of indoctrination. He says, after a while, an ingenious 7-step course of indoctrination was developed and perfected. These are the 7 steps of brainwashing by which a Watchtower Kingdom publisher is fashioned. The first step was the getting of books into the hands of a person. Any method that achieved that result was acceptable. We did not find this unduly difficult due to a number of circumstances and conditions. We dealt mainly with people who were professing Christians. Most Christians hold only very loosely the Bible truths once delivered to the saints. There is a widespread holding of half-truths and partial knowledge. We naturally utilized to the full their readiness to buy Bibles and books pertaining to religion. Since they were used to the idea of paying salaries of ministers and supporting churches, they regarded their contribution as a commendable work of charity. Their sympathy for us was aroused by the fact that we were persecuted and derided. But this was only the first step in our concerted campaign to create a mass organization to establish mass thinking on religious matters as a prelude to mass action. The second step was the back call. Ostensibly, the back call was made to encourage a purchaser to study the book he had acquired. Remarks were made to create more interest in the book. Dramatic events were related to whet the appetite of the book buyer. A back call record was filed with the company, that is, the local congregation, to ensure constant visiting, at least one call a month. A second purpose of this record was to effect continuity of effort in behalf of the person visited by always building upon what had been done before, with the final goal of leading to the third step. The third step was to get the person called on to agree to a weekly study with the publisher of the book he had purchased. Once agreed upon, this weekly study was termed a home Bible study. This was a deceitful misnomer. The course had little to do with the Bible. The textbook was a Watchtower Society published book. What little scripture it did embody was in accordance with their practice, in feigned words weighted down with new light from the temple, and was used for the sole purpose of attaining the Watchtower goal. This back call was actually the first direct step of indoctrination. It was used to dislodge any and all of the subject's loosely held ideas on religion and its practices. Then the book was used to implant new ideas. A person who bought this bill of goods had now become a person of goodwill in the jargon of theocracy. He was gradually loaded up with as many of the society's books as were in print, and he was inveigled to subscribe to the Awaken Watchtower magazines. This, so he was told, was our Bible course. If a Kingdom publisher could be maneuvered into having 2 or more such book studies a week, he would read the Watchtower books 2 or 3 times a week. In this way, he would slowly become accustomed to phrases used in the book and store them up for repetition. Gradually, by such repetitious reading with new students, Jehovah's Witnesses began to recite, in parrot-like fashion, whole portions of the book. Thus tenets, teachings, and even the verbiage used gradually filled the minds of such Jehovah's Witnesses, replacing old concepts of the Bible and its ancient teachings of the truths once delivered to the saints, and also the teachings of former religious affiliations. But it was having a second favorable effect. What it was doing for Jehovah's Witnesses, it was also doing for the students, which were called people of goodwill. In this book-selling, back-calling, book study, the society had a highly successful brainwashing scheme for Jehovah's Witnesses and their converts alike. It eliminated insensibly all individual patterns of thinking on any given subject in the Bible or of religion. It set a new and uniform concept. It is in this manner that the Watchtower Society developed abject organization-mindedness, later called theocratic-mindedness. Early in this home Bible study course, about the 4th meeting, we began to nudge him toward the 4th step. The 4th step was the area book study. For this purpose, the city was divided into areas with a book study for each area. The meetings were usually held on Friday. The meeting was under direct company arrangement. The conductor, designated as the study conductor, was appointed by the society and worked in conjunction with the company. Whereas up to this time the book had been the only source of new light to the person of goodwill, he now was to learn through the give and take of a well-regulated dialogue of the publishers using the conference method. Here the new light was expertly turned on and off by quoting events from the Watchtower past and by relating results of activity. A real show was put on for the person of goodwill. The purposes of the back call and home Bible study were maintained and advanced. Slowly, loosely held scriptural doctrines and concepts were replaced by Watchtower doctrines. As theocratic thinking was being achieved in the study itself, theocratic doing was gradually presented. First, we used events with which all were acquainted to debunk the normal outlook of people in general and replace it with the fatalistic idea that the world was coming to an early end and would soon be destroyed. Everything was colored with this crepe-hanging attitude. It is this which has made Jehovah's Witnesses the greatest crepe-hangers in the world. They specialize in premonitions, superstitions, omens. They constantly scan the horizon for signs of the end. They're like the Pharisee, a perverted generation looking for a sign. Yet the only sign which will be given them is the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds, and that they do not believe. 3 more steps to go. I'll put in a link to J.C. Ryle. This is a discussion of Matthew 24, by the way. The only sign of the last days that's mentioned in Matthew 24, and it's a surprise. It's not signs. It's not a composite sign either. So why Jehovah's Witnesses get this chapter, Matthew 24, so wrong? See you next time.